"Never go into those woods, son. Those trees hold secrets not meant for human ears." My father's voice was low, a tremor in his normally firm tone. He rarely showed fear, but that night he seemed different, almost vulnerable, his distant gaze lost in a memory he rarely spoke of, especially at night. It was as if he were reliving an old nightmare, something that had haunted him for years. He was a man of few words, but his warnings always came charged with a silent intensity that demanded attention. Each word seemed to hang in the air, heavy with a seriousness I couldn't ignore. I was young, barely a teenager, eager to prove myself and explore the world beyond our small town. Curiosity burned inside me, a flame I could barely control, but the way he spoke of those woods, the fear that shone in his eyes, planted a seed of unease in my heart. I had never seen my father so disturbed, and it made me uneasy. A seed that would grow over the years, fed by the chilling story he finally shared with me on a cold winter night. A story that would forever change the way I saw that forest. It was in his early 20s, my father explained, that he ventured into the woods with two friends, excited for a weekend of hunting and camaraderie. They were full of energy and enthusiasm, ready to face any challenge the forest might present. The night was dark, but their flashlights lit the way, creating dancing shadows among the trees. The air was crisp, the leaves beginning to change color, painting the forest in vibrant shades of red and gold. Nature was in full transition, and every step they took was accompanied by the sound of dry leaves under their feet. The beauty of the forest was mesmerizing, almost magical. They were young and full of life, their laughter echoing among the trees as they set up camp. The camaraderie between them was palpable, and every task was carried out with a sense of purpose and fun. The campfire soon became the center of their activities, a beacon of warmth and light in the darkness. The first day was a success, their spirits high as they gathered around the crackling campfire, sharing stories and jokes under the starry sky. The flames danced, casting playful shadows on the surrounding trees, and the sound of the crackling wood was almost hypnotic. They felt invincible, as if nothing could go wrong. But as the sun dipped below the horizon on the second day, a change came over the woods. Daylight began to fade, and a sense of unease began to spread among them. Twilight brought with it a different atmosphere, almost sinister. A heavy silence descended, the air growing thick with an unnatural stillness. The sounds of nocturnal animals disappeared, and everything around them seemed to be holding its breath. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting for something unknown. The laughter stopped, replaced by a growing unease none of them could identify. The darkness seemed to close in, the familiar woods taking on a menacing aura. The rustling of leaves sounded strangely loud, each snapping branch sending shivers down their spines. Sleep was fitful, plagued by nightmares and the unsettling feeling of being watched. When dawn finally broke, it brought with it a sight that chilled them to the bone. The forest, once teeming with life, was eerily silent. The only sounds were the whispering wind and the frantic beating of their own hearts. They stumbled upon the first carcass by chance, a mangled deer twisted and broken beneath a towering oak tree, its eyes wide with a terror that mirrored their own. Then came another, and another, each more gruesome than the last. Rabbits, squirrels, even a fox, all drained of blood, their bodies twisted into unnatural positions. Panic began to set in, their youthful bravado crumbling in the face of this macabre display. Something was terribly wrong. They had to leave, and fast. But as they turned to flee, they came face to face with the source of their nightmare. It wasn't a bear or a wolf, as they initially feared. It was something far more sinister, something that defied explanation. It stood on two legs, its form vaguely humanoid but grotesquely distorted. Its skin, stretched tight over bone, was a patchwork of decay and rot, the stench of death clinging to it like a shroud. The creature's eyes glowed with an unnatural light, burning with a cold, predatory hunger. My father whispered the word that had haunted his dreams ever since, a word uttered in hushed tones by the locals. Skinwalker, a shape-shifting creature of Navajo legend, said to be a harbinger of misfortune and death. What happened next was a blur, a desperate struggle for survival. One of his friends, paralyzed by fear, was seized by the creature and dragged screaming into the woods. His other friend, fueled by adrenaline, managed to fire a shot, the sound echoing through the silent woods. It was enough to distract the creature, to give my father the chance to run. He didn't stop, didn't dare look back until he burst out of the tree line, gasping for breath, his clothes torn, his body trembling. He never saw his friends again. The authorities dismissed his story as a bear attack, the ramblings of a traumatized young man. But my father knew what he had seen. The scars on his back, deep gashes that never fully healed, served as a constant reminder of that night. He carried the burden of his experience, the guilt of survival, and the chilling truth that no one believed. As I listened to his story, a shiver ran down my spine. Part of me wanted to dismiss it as a product of trauma and an overactive imagination. But the raw terror in his voice, the haunted look in his eyes, spoke of a deeper truth. That night, I lay awake long after my father's story ended. The shadows in my room seemed to twist and writhe, taking on menacing shapes. The wind howled outside, sounding eerily like a distant scream. Driven by a mixture of fear and morbid curiosity, I did something I never thought I would do. I opened my laptop and typed in the word that had haunted my father all these years: Skinwalker. To my surprise, numerous websites and forums appeared, filled with similar stories, eyewitness accounts and blurry photographs. Legends, folklore, or terrifying reality. Years have passed, and I am no longer the naive boy who listened to his father's story with wide-eyed wonder. Now, I am a man who carries the weight of these stories, every detail etched into my memory. I have explored the world, faced my own fears, and learned that some truths are best left undisturbed. But even with all my experience, there is something I have never been able to forget. The memory of that night, the chilling details of my father's encounter, continue to linger. He spoke of glowing eyes in the darkness, of a presence that seemed to watch their every move. And sometimes, late at night, when the wind howls and the shadows dance, I can't help but wonder, do those glowing eyes still watch from the darkness, waiting for unsuspecting souls to cross their path? Is the legend of the Skinwalker more than just a story told to frighten children? Is the legend of the Skinwalker just a story, or a chilling reminder that some secrets are best left buried in the shadows of the woods? Perhaps we will never know the full truth, but the doubt lingers, haunting our thoughts and dreams.